Hello, everybody. I am super excited because today we are talking on a subject that is very dear to my heart, and it's about women. For more than 20 years, more than 20 years actually, while I was in Cameroon, I worked with the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family. Even before then, I used to organize conferences and seminars to empower women. So women empowerment is something that has a special place in my heart. And today we have women who share the same passion that are joining me today to talk on women action, empowerment, and inclusion. And with us is no stranger. She's been with us before, and that is Maria. She is the founder and CEO of Step Up and Thrive. She brings a wealth of experience and resilience to her role as a development coach and speaker. And with a master's degree in business management and mentorship from renowned experts like Paul Martinelli and John Maxwell, she supports conscious leaders, professionals, and organizational teams in discovering and developing their personal competencies. Her journey includes helping launch affordable housing programs and serving as an executive assistant in a large city hall. Maria's commitment to community service extends to youth leadership development, team building, and coaching individual leaders for personal growth. As a public speaker, she shares actionable insights on communication, leadership, and organizational effectiveness. I know you want to hear much more, but listen, I know you want to see her too. So, she is co-authoring a book on ethical influence and persuasion with 10 other Cialdini Institute founding members. With us in the studio is Maria. Maya, join me. Welcome, Maria, to the studio. Hey.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Susan, for having me and
I am so
offering this
excited.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. I am so excited you chose to do this with us, just hanging out, talking about women, action, empowerment, inclusion. Thank you so much for saying yes to us. Thank you so much.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me. So excited to speak to your audience.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Listen, if you haven't shared this, you want to do it right now. Okay. You don't want your friends missing out because you did not share. Okay. Go ahead and click that share button and share with your friends. We are talking women, action, empowerment, and inclusion. And we're going to have with us as well one other guest, and that is nobody else but Dr. Stephanie Parson, who is the president and CEO of Crown Grace International, leading a team that supports various government agencies, including the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, Nuclear Regulation Commission, Department of Labor, and more. With over 20 years of global reach, she focuses on linking leaders to business results. Dr. Parson, an authority on change management and 21st century leadership, leverages her more than 35 years of experience in executive management, strategic planning, and program management. She coaches global CEOs, consults on strategic direction, technology, innovation, and conducts leadership development workshops prior to Crown Grace International. Now she serves as vice president. She served as vice president at Walt Disney World and chief information officer for Parsons Brinckerhoff Incorporated. As a military veteran, her extensive background includes executive roles, IT, strategic planning, and program management with Fortune 500, 100 companies. Dr. Parsons' impact spans sectors, bringing transformational leadership to both public and private realms. And with us in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Welcome to the studio, Dr. Parson. Yes.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Susan and Maria. It's a pleasure to join the platform with you. I look forward to learning, I look forward to hearing, and I look forward to sharing. Thank you, Dr. Susan, for asking me to join your platform.
Now let's start with you, Dr. Parson. When you heard the topic, women, action, inclusion, what came to your mind when you heard that topic?
Well, if we look at the marketplace right now, we see more and more women taking the roles of leadership. And what that requires us to do is to come in with a plan for success. So when asked to share with your audience, it was, how do we empower each other? I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and there was a gentleman speaker, and he said, you women have to stop being petty with each other. And I was off-ended with that. And so I raised my hand politely and I said, women work very well together, and we strive to empower each other to our next level of success. He apologized, and I said, look, I need you to take that out of your vocabulary, because we do well together. And if you look at the research, businesses that are run by women or have women on their boards do so very well. And so that's what excited me about joining you, Dr. Susan. Thank you.
It's so exciting having you, Dr. Person. Maria, when you heard women, inclusion, empowerment, what came to your mind?
Well, I think that your invitation came just in the perfect timing, because this is exactly the place where my newly established business is finding itself. I'm in a big explosive growth phase. I'm the third year in business, and I'm actually seeing all these opportunities that are opening and the doors on the state level, on the federal level. So I am actually the student of this whole process, and I'm walking my talk, and just came back yesterday from a fantastic conference. It was a summit on women empowerment in my community here in central New York. And it was truly inspirational to see how many women came and made a decision to be there, to learn and grow together, inspire each other, and just take their businesses, their careers to the next level. So it's just perfect timing, and I'm honored to be here with you ladies.
And what does women empowerment mean, Maria? What does women empowerment mean?
What it means to me and to every woman, that we actually can make our dreams come true. We can go for our dream and we can make it happen. We need to believe in our ability to change the world and be the catalyst for a positive change.
Dr. Parson, women empowerment, what is it?
It believes that we are empowered not only for this generation, but we're empowered for the next generation. And I know you should never use the word as you're defining it. So let me kind of rephrase that to say that we are born with the innate ability to make a difference in the world. And now it's the time for us to look at the world, whether our world is our family, our neighborhood, our community, our business, however you define your world, you have the innate ability to make a difference that will impact generations.
We have the innate ability that would impact this world and to impact generations. Are we actually doing that, Dr. Parson?
We are. However, this is what we have to do better. We have to let people know. I run into more than one woman after another who will make this statement. They'll say, I don't want to brag about myself. And if you believe that you've been purposed to do something, you're not bragging about yourself. You're bragging about that ability to make a difference in the world. And so if you can take self out of it and become a cheerleader of what you've been called to do, that's going to enable other women to have the guts to even do greater things.
Wait, I love that. I love the way you put it. It's not about, bragging. It's about believing in what you're called to do and actually stepping out. And I love how you look at it from the perspective of inspiring other women. Could you tell us more about that? How our actions, because it's about actions, women, action, and empowerment. How do our actions actually count in this whole drive?
And I think I'll pick up on something that Maria said earlier, as I believe she shared that she's gone through the Maxwell program. Mm-hmm. And if we look at one of his principles, he talks about the law of the lid.
Yes.
We only go as high as we believe that we can go. And so if our lid is 3 feet, then not only will we only go 3 feet, but the people around us, the people that we're responsible for, they will believe that they can only go 3 feet. But if we as women begin to show other women that we can go 50, 100, 3,000 feet, then that those who are in our sphere of influence, they will also see that ability to rise to that level.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. You want to share this with your friends because I think this is going to be epic.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
We are talking women empowerment, action and inclusion. And I'm thinking, Maria, what are some of the hurdles that stand between us and the action? What are some of those hurdles that stand between us and the action?
I think the biggest hurdle that I see sometimes in women, and in my personal experience of coaching women, whether it's career coaching or entrepreneurial coaching, is the limiting beliefs that we create in our own minds. Am I going to be good enough? Is this going to be a good way to go? Is this the right direction? Or is this the right opportunity? And having a person, a coach or a trusted mentor or a trusted advisor is so vital. Somebody who can speak life into you, who can sometimes give you a magic kick when you need one, who can encourage you, and that person who sees more in you than sometimes you can see yourself. So oftentimes I find women lacking that special connection or special mentor or special advisor, and not having that person just speak special message or give you a special incentive, just inspire you. That's what can create a big obstacle and oftentimes maybe fade away, an opportunity that could have been $1 million contract or, an explosive growth or a tremendous career jump. So having that one-on-one connection is so important. And I would encourage any woman, it's just, there's a saying, your network is your net worth. So going out and seeking intentionally those connections and building those trusted, authentic, true relationships where you have some cheerleaders, you have some supporters in your inner circle is just so vital and very important.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. We are looking at how to move from sensitization to effective action, Dr. Parson. We are looking at how to move from the talk, which is very important. It has its place. Tell us about the importance of sensitization, importance of the talk, and then tell us about the action piece. And what are we missing?
Wow, that's a handful there. So the talk, I want to hone in on what was said a little bit earlier, I think where Maria was leading us as well, is that there's a lot of talk going on. However, most of that talk is that internal talk, right? And so we're synthesized to how we were brought up, again, talking about that lid, who we were exposed to. I love the fact that you said your net worth is your network. And so all of that creates those messages that we are allowing ourselves to hear. What we meditate on, what we chew on, as a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, therefore she is. And so that talk that needs to come out of our mouth needs to be where we want to go, where we're purposed to go, what greater people are sharing with us. I always share with people that if I am the smartest person in the room, I am the dumbest person in the room. And so even your self-talk, but it's also the talk of others around you, what they're saying, and tuning off, quite frankly, folks who are saying things that don't align with the vision, the purpose, the destiny that you have set before you.
Wow. Maria, I'm coming back to something you said about the people that we have in our lives and how that is important. And Dr. Parson also mentioned who we are exposed to, and that could either be the catalyst or the lead to where we finally go or where we finally end up. And from your experiences, Maria, do you have any turning point in your life where you faced a hurdle, and then how did that turn out, that what made a life changing a difference in your life? Did you ever have those types of circumstances, or you always just had the right people at the right time?
Well, that's a great question, Dr. 𝐿. For me, it started back in my young age when I just finished college and I was working in the large city hall. So originally I'm from Russia, and that's where I finished my first degree. and I was working in a large city hall, and the opportunity presented to apply for a job to be an executive assistant to the mayor and the first deputy. And my mindset and my self-talk was like, I'm too young. I'm not going to be good enough. Why would I even bother? Like, I'm going to be working with all the people who are like in their 40s, 50s, and delegating, inquiring about special reports that they needed to provide would be just impossible. So my self-talk was just guiding my decision until I with my one of my colleagues at that time that I really wanted to apply, but I'm scared. And she truly inspired me. And she said, Maria, you are young, you're full of opportunities, you're fully capable. And that encouragement that she gave me made me go, farther than I ever expected, and encouraged me and instilled that belief. So from then on, I am paying it forward in every interaction with the woman I have. If there is an advice that is needed, or if any like insights, or just even, just a talk, a personal conversation, I pay it forward, and I try to encourage to be more, to go farther, to not let those limiting beliefs or whatever the circumstances might be stop a woman in her, idea or in her plan.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Parson. You are doing you're doing such amazing work in the world, and you've been in some of the places that maybe not many women have had the opportunities to be at. You are an example of a power lady. Have you always been this powerful? Have you had any hurdles? You talked about the inner dialogue and how it could be limiting to women that aspire to be great in the world, in their environments, in their communities. Have you ever had those challenges? What would you tell other women today who are aspiring to do big things for their communities and the environments that they find themselves in?
If you're not having hurdles to go over or through or under or around, your vision is not big enough.
Okay.
All right. And so the way that we learn, the way that we grow is through life's lessons, right? And so if we see a hurdle and we actually fall in that hurdle, or we fall in that hole, what did we do to get out? What could we have done to prevented it? What could we have done differently so that when we come out, we're better for it? So I don't think we as leaders should be afraid of the holes that are in the ground. I think every time that we are being crushed, every time that we're learning, every time that we stumble, it is a learning opportunity. Another life lesson that I use is that before I start picking out a toothpick out of somebody else's eye, let me look at the log in my eye. What did I do to cause this problem? What did I do that caused someone to falter? How did that person feel when they walked away from me? Did they feel whole? Did they feel complete? Did they feel better? Or did they feel worse? And so I do a lot of self-reflecting. I think about the decisions that I've made throughout the day. Were they impactful? Did they lead me closer to where I am supposed to be? Now, I'm a woman of God, and so I'm constantly telling myself what God says about me. So when those bad, old, negative recordings come up, I go back to what my Father says about me. I'm the head, not the tail. I'm above only. I'm not beneath. I can do all things through Christ Jesus. Everything that comes against me, He's already got a plan for me to work out. And so there's a lot of self-cheering going on when those old recordings come. But I want to go back to, if you're not stumbling, if you're not falling, if you're not getting up, the Word of God says a righteous man falls, but he gets up 7 times. That tells me that trials and tribulations are going to come. But what do we learn from them? How do we make ourselves better? How do we get closer to our vision, to our purpose, because we fell in that hole? And most importantly, how can we talk to others about that hole to help them avoid falling in the same hole? And that's where we as women can get better. We shouldn't share this, the next time I see something and I fall into this hole, I need to tell my sisters. I need to say, hey, let me share with you how I was able to come out of that hole, because you're either coming into a hole, in a hole, or coming out of a hole. And if we as women can begin to be even more open, we love to talk. So if we can become even more open with our sisters, whether they're moms, wives, business owners, nonprofits, for-profits, whatever that looks like, let's share. Let's share so that we can grow together.
Please put in the chat if you're watching us. When you come to this point, I want you to say, I am coming out. Dr. Parson just said, or maybe you're coming out. I want you to say, I am coming out. Put it in the chat so we know you're here with us. I am coming out. This is really powerful. We are talking women action, empowerment, and inclusion. And there is some statements Dr. Parson made and Maria as well that led me to ask myself about the importance of dreaming. Are we dreaming big enough? Maria, what do you think?
Well, absolutely. I call a person who doesn't have a dream, it might sound harsh, but a person maybe half dead, because in our lives, we were born here to create an impact. We were born to dream. We were born to achieve our dreams. And life is too short to play small, honestly. So for people who maybe find themselves stagnant right now, I know I was at this stage, and before I partook on a personal growth journey where I found myself just being a mom, very stressed out, taking care of my kids, staying home. And yet inside of me, I had this burning desire to be more, do more, to give more to people around me, not to just my family, my children. I have 4 children. So that kind of inspired me to do something. And I started reading books. I started reading personal growth and development books. And then I realized that journey I started getting bigger on the inside, and that brought bigger things on the outside of me. It brought the positive impact.
Wait. This is so good. You started on this personal growth journey and you started becoming bigger on the inside. And that influenced what you began to dream about.
Sorry, say it again. The influence I began to dream about.
It began to influence what you dream. When you
yes, absolutely. You know, my world started to change. The way I saw things, I started seeing things. The way I was interacting with people, I wanted to add value to them just because I felt myself empowered and valued, and I felt like I could do more and I could bring more. It's my favorite quote by John Maxwell is, "Be a river, not a reservoir." So when my capacity expanded, I wanted to pass it on and be that river and share it with other people so they could also feel more full of capacity and more empowered, and just kind of create that ripple effect.
Wow. This is so inspiring. Please put in the chat for me, this is inspiring. Just put inspiration, put inspiring, just put anything inspiration in the chat so we know you're here. This is so good. So Maria, Dr. Parson, they know you're here with us. And if you have a question, please put it in the chat. I'm sure they'll be glad to answer your questions. Dr. Parson, dreaming, your journey, how did it begin? How did you become so powerful doing what you're doing? I know you shared with me that in a I was enthralled when we had that conversation. Could you share with our audiences again your journey? How did you become this person that you are today?
So I started out as an officer in the United States Air Force, and then from there got recruited into corporate America. And I think when we talk about dreams, you know, when I was in the Air Force, my dream was that I was going to be a general officer. When I was in corporate America, my dream was I was going to be at the highest C level in my field, and that's the Chief Information Officer. So I was able to achieve that with lots of support, lots of friends helping me along the way, but believing that there is nothing that's impossible for us to achieve, right? You've got to have those big, hairy, audacious dreams. And again, if you can achieve it on your own, it's not big enough.
It's not big enough.
It's not big enough. And so for me, Crowned Grace International is $1 billion with a B, $1 billion corporation. And I have to believe that enough, and I have to talk that enough, and I have to remind myself enough that as we're getting to the billion-dollar level, that there are going to be opportunities to even grow further. Who am I
Mm,
connected with? Who am I joined at the hip with? Who am I walking away from? Who
mm.
am I sharing with? Who am I a prime to and who am I a sub to? You know, there are lots of dynamics that go on, but you've got to have that big, hairy, audacious dream. I call it big, hairy, audacious prayer, big, hairy, audacious dream. A colleague of mine from Disney, Simon Bailey, he has several books that really cause you to think differently and larger than where you are right now, right?
Mm.
And again, I go back to, if your dream is all about just you, you're not dreaming big enough. That might be where you start, because we all come in different circumstances. We have different life circumstances. And so right now, your dream might just be, I need to get through the week. And that is a big, hairy, audacious dream for you. And then once you get through the week, let's have a bigger dream. Let's have an even bigger dream. And then let's have an even bigger dream. And
Mm.
just don't stop dreaming. And sometimes the dreams are impossible. There is no way that you can do it on your own. You're right on target then. You're right on target, because when you cannot do it on your own, that means you are dreaming big. You are dreaming large. You're looking at your net worth and you're looking at your network. Now, I tell people there are 5 areas, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically, relationally, financially. Spiritually, mentally, physically, relationally, and financially. What are your dreams in those 5 areas? And then dream again, and then dream again, and then dream larger, and then dream larger, and dream with the AND, the and, not the or, right? You can have big, hairy, audacious dreams spiritually and mentally and physically and relationally and financially. It doesn't have to be or, it's the and. So let's look for the multiplication in our dreams.
Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. What big, hairy, audacious dream do you need to hold on to? Don't let it go. Keep
Don't let it
dreaming
go.
and then dream again and then even dream some more. Wow. Put it in the chat. This is so good. Dream again, dream again, dream again. Put it in the chat. Dream again, dream again. There is so many questions that are popping through my mind from this conversation. I don't know which one to ask first, and I'm looking at you, Maria. You mentioned something about how a friend helped you on your journey, and with that support you were able to find like the courage to take on that position that you were afraid of. And Dr. Parson also talked about the importance of that network and those people around us. Do you have some experiences you might want to share about how maybe you passed that down to other women in your environment and how that turned out for them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So from my experience, when I moved to the US, I was honored to work in the higher ed setting, as I mentioned earlier, and I had an opportunity to supervise students, just seeing sometimes them struggle, stumble, have doubts, and encouraging them. I was still very young, but I was in that supervisory position, and it was truly inspiring to see how just one word of encouragement, one word of support can change a person's actions in that day, and that day will unfold into many other days. And just seeing the students succeed in their plans and their inspirations, just sharing their experience when they had limiting beliefs or doubts, was truly, for me, to be able to kind of mentor them in that capacity. It was inspiring. And then now in my current role as the CEO of the company, when I go to events or when I get an opportunity to present for a day training, half a day training at a conferences, it's truly inspiring to see what the messages we convey, how people can take it into their personal lives and go above and beyond, and just it can change the trajectory of their lives. So for everybody, I would like to consider how inspiring and how providing a listening ear, or just a support, or just some encouragement, and being there, truly listening to understand, not to respond, can have a ripple effect and can change many people's lives around us. So I'm just honored to have a mentorship group. I'm honored to be able to speak to people as a mentor, as a trusted advisor, and inspire people to go bigger. And I personally have mentors in my life too, who speak life into my business. So no matter how far you go in your journey, you have to give up to go up, and you need to be always surrounded by people who were farther away than you in your journey. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Be that inspiration and create that ripple effect. Be that inspiration and create that ripple effect. That's what I got. I don't know what you got, guys. Put it in the chat and we'll be right back.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
Friends, we are on the Leaders World. Leaders World brought to you by Leaders World Institute, one of the schools of Leaders World University. And today we have with us Dr. Parson is with us, and Maria is with us as well. And we are talking on a topic that is very, very dear to us. And I know it's dear to you as well. Action, empowerment, and inclusion. All about women. This is Women's History Month, so we are talking women, action, empowerment, and inclusion. And we are looking at the importance of passing down what we have received. And Dr. Parson, would you want to share with us some of those instances and what that meant to you, just being able to inspire other women and help them find their next levels?
So one of my life mottos is to leave a thumbprint wherever I go. And so if I leave a thumbprint, and then if you, Dr. Susan, can come and work with that same person and leave a thumbprint, and then Maria comes and works with that same person and leaves a thumbprint, then the impact of those thumbprints changes the world. So I don't have to pour 100% of me into one person. I just have to be focused in on what I have been called to do, what I am good at, and leave my thumbprint behind, in the belief that that 1 degree of change that person will make is only magnified by the thumbprint that the two of you will leave on that same person. And so the way that I look at helping others, again, is leaving that thumbprint behind, but always being there for them. Right. Wow. And I will share with people, like you all, I will get people, will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? And I will tell people up front, you don't want me as a mentor, because I am going to hold you accountable for whatever we talk about. However, you can come and talk with me and we can share ideas and concepts. And here's the reason for that. As leaders in our industry, there's always going to be lots of people who will pull, and they won't want to do the activities, the exercises, the taskings, the growth that is required to take their lives to the next level. And so I call those lint takers, right? They're just there to take. But there are also people who are receivers, who want to be better, and they are willing to do that extra step, that extra journey. Right. And so in leaving that thumbprint behind, I'm doing a couple of things. A, I'm giving you some great insight, great wisdom, and I've been able to do that throughout my life. But B, I'm also looking at you. Are you really going to do anything with that little bit of information that I just gave you? And if you're going to do something with it, then we can talk mentorship, then we can talk sponsorship. But I am looking at those types of growth models as a way to move everyone ahead. So that was a long answer, Dr. Susan. Short answer is, I do believe in leaving a thumbprint behind wherever I go. But I'm also trusting other leaders like Maria, like you, Dr. Susan, that you will come also and leave a thumbprint. And so as each of us are giving into others, their lives are better.
And yes, that's why we do this at the Leaders World. When we are done with this, we throw it out there on all social media platforms available to us. And we are hoping that these thumbprints would be left in the life of someone that's going to take it to the next generation as well. You talked about in a previous conversation, you mentioned about self-reflection, Dr. Parson. You talked about self-reflection, and I was like, I took note of that. I'm like, okay, when do you do your self-reflection? Is it something you do like journaling at the end of every day, or how do you do that self-reflection? You know, those little details that are the secrets to the greatness of, you know, the people we look up to. Do you want to share with our audiences?
So every morning, I go on a walk with my dog, who's just so graciously asleep at my feet right now. But we go for a walk, and that's my prayer time. That's my meditation time. That's also my listening time. And that's my reflection time. I also reflect at the end of the day. What went right? What went wrong? What do I need to do differently? And then, as I shared, anytime I have an encounter with someone, if there is that imprint on me that they're walking away hurt or diminished, I immediately have a reflective time. What did I do to cause them to feel that way?
Oh, wow.
And yes, I do journal too. I've got journals all over the house.
Would you consider that one of your key secrets to you being the person that you are, the leader that you are?
I think it's one. I firmly believe that the self-reflection is probably one thing that we see that's missing in a lot of people that call themselves leaders. Again, not only what did I do right, but what did I do wrong? What did I do to change someone's life? You know, Dr. Maya Angelou says, and I'm going to mess all this up, so please forgive me, but she says that people won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made
How
them
you made
feel.
them feel, right?
And so how am I making people feel when they are in my sphere of influence? That is so critical for me, because our words can wound. And if we're not intuitive, if we're not paying attention, that great leader that has a phenomenal idea, we could have just crushed. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about that throughout the day.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm also looking at the accountability piece. Maria, we've mentioned about accountability about twice. I'm like, okay, I think it's time to settle and talk about accountability and why self-accountability is very, very important. In one of my trainings, when I mentioned self-accountability, I had one of my friends, a medical doctor, who said, you know, I have always thought about accountability like holding someone accountable, but looking at self-accountability is something that I think I need to look at more seriously. Maria, what do you think about self-accountability when it comes to action and empowerment as a woman?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I want to start with the definition of leadership by John Maxwell, how he says leadership is influence, nothing else, nothing more. Now, people I work with recently, I find sometimes, like, say, they're in a staff position, and oftentimes they would say, well, I'm not a leader. My job is not a leadership position. And to that, we had several conversations that I encourage and share that in everyday life, we're all leaders. We're all influencing, and there is a statistics behind it that on average, even the most introverted person influences about 10,000 people in a lifetime. Yes. So whether a person wants it or not, whether the job description says that you should be a leader and influence, but we influence our neighbors, we influence people we go and interact on a daily basis, let it be in a grocery store, anywhere in life, it's influencing. And so in my case, the accountability piece comes to our ability to influence also people around us. And that personal self-accountability is rooted into the principle of influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini, principle of commitment and consistency. When we are committed to our actions and we stay in alignment with that consistently, we can influence not only our own outcomes, but we can also ethically influence the outcomes of people around us. So personal accountability has, again, ripple effect. I guess our buzzword today is ripple effect. When we stay accountable to ourselves and our commitment, what we said we would do and follow through, that can and build up on our confidence, built up on our belief, built up on our personal commitment to follow up and stay consistent and reach that small goal or next step in our goal, or go up and above and beyond. So again, it has ripple effects, and self-accountability, I often talk to my clients about this, is so important when we are accountable to ourselves, and then also for coaches. Like, that's why it's important to have a coach. And I mean, maybe I'm digressing a little bit, but even for me as a coach, it's important to have a coach because I need to have that accountability. So for me to give more to my clients, I need to give more and be more for myself. So it's important to have accountability for my coach and write a plan and follow through so my business can go to the next level.
Accountability, Dr. Parson. Would you want to chime into that? Because I
do. I want to say three things.
Yes.
You never talk about your book, but I'm going to talk about my book for a second. And so my book is called The Character of a Leader, right? And in that, it echoes what Maria just said, that we are all leaders. In fact, within Crowned Grace, we don't use the term employee. We use the term leader or leader of leaders.
Wow.
Because we believe that, without a doubt, that everyone brings to their sphere of influence a level of leadership. Now, it's interesting. We just took the entire company through the 12-week year program, and we had an in-depth discussion on the word accountability. And what I left that development program with is that we cannot hold people accountable if we first don't ensure that they are capable.
Oh.
And so capability is something that we're reflecting on now. Are our leaders capable of doing what they have been called to do? Because if they're not capable, we cannot hold them accountable. And so the author of the 12-week year, he expressed so firmly is that you've got to build capability first. You've got to know that the capability exists first before you can even talk about self-accountability, team accountability, group accountability. Are you building an environment? Are you building a culture of capability? So I'm going back and forth on the word accountability because, we use the accountability ladder with the people that we coach. But when he made that statement of how do you ensure that people are capable before you hold them accountable, it's just ringing strongly in my heart now, because I think that's what we do as leaders, as supervisors. We're holding people accountable without first ensuring that they are capable. So it didn't answer your question per se, but that's where my mind is.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And while you're talking, Dr. Parson, I'm thinking about the self-accountability piece and how, I think it's also important that using the same principle, we look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we just trying to maybe hold ourselves accountable for something that we've not yet built capacity for? And then when we fail, we think it's because we are a failure. Do you want to talk more into that, Dr. Parson?
So we fail forward. So again, going back to what we said earlier, you might fail, but that just means I'm not capable yet. Right? And so if that's where I'm going, if that's my big, hairy, audacious dream, then I need to get more skills. I need to surround myself with people that are already there, that are already capable. I need to YouTube is a wonderful thing because there are so many people out there that will give you insight and ideas of how to do things. There are schools now that are offering free programs. There are so many associations. You name the idea, the concept, there's probably an association out there that's willing to give you free training and free development. And so if your big, hairy idea, for example, is real estate investment, then go join a real estate investment club in your local area. Learn more about real estate investment, right? If it's about coaching, we do executive coaching, professional coaching. Well, we don't just hire any coaches. Our coaches have to be certified, right? And so go get that experience that you need so that you are more capable. And then don't stop. If we talk about degrees, I have so many degrees, it just makes no sense, especially because I've always hated school. I mean, you want to talk to somebody that hates school, that would be me, right? But if you too, but if you
I think Maria is the only one that loves school.
But I am constantly learning, and I am constantly seeking, and not always the professional and the formal education, but also the informal education. Who can I sit next to? Who is already running $1 billion company that I can pick their ears, right? And so I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly growing. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing. I've been taking lots of notes, lots and lots of notes, and I'm looking at the inclusion piece as well, Maria, about how it's important. How important is it to recognize and address our diversity, so we can ensure that we actually have inclusion that makes sense. How is that important as far as women, action, empowerment, and inclusion?
It's interesting. It's a great question. I mean, I know it's been a buzzword for the past several years, especially in the higher ed setting when before I started my entrepreneurial journey, and it still is. And honestly, I want to give it a look at it from different perspectives. So my background, when I grew up in Russia, there was no such thing. It was just everybody is equal. We had many international students. We didn't have this kind of like barrier or like different approach to it. It was just a common thing. Here in the US, it's more like, I don't want to say division, but it was kind of, the emphasis was from a different perspective. And I think the more people focus on that from the perspective of division, the more the gap occurs. So I never personally saw any problem with equity and inclusion in my personal professional life. And we had many trainings, of course, and all that. And I think the most important piece here is to be open to listen to ideas, to perspectives, to really listen and understand. Like, I have many friends who are entrepreneurs and they're from different countries, and yet they're super successful here in the US. Started $1 million businesses now, and they're growing, expanding. They're contributing to the economy in many ways. It's just, it takes, a round table. We are so much better together when we share our ideas, genuinely are open to just contribute to other people's successes, that's where the power comes. And it just makes me think of a word mastermind, because I belong and I have different mastermind experiences currently. When we share our struggles, when we openly seek advice and ask, say, for example, for me to go to Dr. Parson and ask her for an advice, or give an advice to my friend who is from a Muslim country, we can all learn so much from each other. And there is so much value and so much many gems in this diversity, that once we tap into that, it's just unlimited potential for everybody involved.
Dr. Parson, inclusion, action, empowerment, women, your thoughts?
I have so many thoughts right now, being here in the DC area where you're seeing a lot of decisions that are being made. So we know that the Supreme Court has just made a couple of DEI decisions, and that does impact a lot of things that we do on a day-to-day basis. And so there is a part of me that is angry because study after study after study shows that the more diverse a business is, the more successful they are. Okay. Other studies out there also share that we hire like people, right? There are people that we're comfortable with. My dog is barking now because he knows his mommy's talking. So you guys have to forgive the background noise.
What's his name? What's his name?
His name is Rhapsody.
Okay, Rhapsody, we hear you.
And so we've got that part going on right now. I think where I'm definitely in agreement with what Maria just shared is that if we listen to each other with an empathetic ear, if we're always saying, okay, let me hear their concern from their perspective without casting judgment, without tearing them down, I think we could go and grow a lot further. We have to recognize that we are different. And it's that difference that makes us so beautiful. So I used to live in New York, right? And one of the things I loved about, and I lived in Austining, but I took the train every morning into the city, worked in the city. What I loved about being in New York is that you saw everyone and everybody and every person from every location, right? And we were all about getting to the job, getting things done, making things happen, right? And there was excitement, there was energy. In fact, I was there last week, I believe. There was excitement and energy in New York when we value each other and the differences we bring. I also did a workshop after the murder of Mr. Floyd, where I had a gentleman that worked in New York, a gentleman that had the same complexion that I did. And he said, and he was a leader, a senior level leader in this global organization. He said that for him to get to work every day felt like a miracle, because he wasn't profiled, because he wasn't set aside, he wasn't pulled over, right? And so I had to listen to his heart, whether that was my experience or not. I had to hear his journey of getting into the office every day in a city that I lived in and worked in for over 4 years. It didn't discount my life experience. It didn't discount his life experience, but I had to accept that as his life experience.
Right.
So when we're talking about inclusion, when we're talking about diversity, when we're talking about equity, we have to have that empathetic ear to hear. We have to have that empathetic ear to act. That it may not be my experience, but because it's your experience, I have to care. And I have to do something about it. So long answer, I'm kind of seesawing on where I'm feeling right now based on what the Supreme Court just decided. But I do believe that what makes the world great is that we each bring our own special ingredient to the apple pie. And that special ingredient makes that apple pie exceed whatever we brought on our own. And how we get there is because we've got to work together. We've got to listen, and we've got to make the decision that we are going to do this, and we're going to make.
Let's do this. Let's do this, Dr. Parson. You're touching our hearts. You're touching our hearts right now.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Wow, wow, wow. That's, oh my goodness. This is so touching. This is so warming my heart. Do you feel that? Do you feel that energy? Can you put love in the chat, please? Put love in the chat, okay? We could never oversay it. We could never overemphasize it. It all begins with love. It continues with love, and it stays with love. We are looking at women, action, empowerment, and inclusion. And I'm thinking, we have all these conversations that we've been having here. If there is a woman that's going to leave this place and still be wondering whether she should be part of this drive for herself, for her business, for her family, for her community, for her village, for her nation, Dr. Parson, what would you tell her?
Are you breathing? If you're breathing, then your answer is it has to be yes, because it's not about you. It's about the generations that will follow you, the generations ahead of you. Everything that you do, whether it is in your own home, your family, the 2 children, the 4 children, the 5 children, if that's what you've been called to do as a mom, to raise the next generation of leaders, then yes. If it's about your neighborhood and you're called to do the neighborhood watch, then yes. If it's about your community. So don't measure, well, my dream is not a $1 billion company. So what? That's not your dream. That's okay. Your dream might be raising that one child who's going to lead thousands of people to their greatness. So whatever that area that you've been called to do, the answer is yes. Because it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. And it's marvelous. It's marvelous. And it
How
starts with
many
your
yeses
yes.
can you put in the chat? Let's go right now.
Go ahead,
How
put your
many
yes.
yeses? Everybody go. Yes, 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 yes. Let's see who's going to get the most yeses. Put as many
Yes.
yeses. Let's say yes to us. Let's say yes to women empowerment. Let's say yes to action. Let's say yes to inclusion. And let's say yes to women. Maria, what are some of the keys to being a woman of action?
Some of the keys?
Yes, to being a woman of action.
I would say you just have to believe you can and tap into your why. Just why am I strongly believe we're here. I'm a person of faith. I believe in God. God is my everything. There is a reason we were brought to life. There is a reason we needed to create increase and impact. And finding that why inside of you, what sparks you, what inspires you, what motivates you, just tap into that. And it goes back into what Dr. Parson mentioned, reflecting. Perhaps sometimes we get so wrapped into our daily life that we're busy running like the hamster in the wheel, spinning, that we don't have that time to pause, look around and think, what really drives me? What really motivates me? What inspires me? And then the next step would be to align yourself with a good cause, whether it's a non-for-profit, whether it's just contributing in your church community, whether it's doing something with children, volunteering. That can just instill so much more fuel into you, into your action, and can propel you way farther than you can ever imagine. So I would encourage you to just pause, reflect, and think about what really drives you, what really inspires you, and then jump and build your wings on the way down.
Jump and build those wings on your way down. Dr. Parson.
I think that key step that I would share, just adding on to what Maria so wonderfully and graciously shared, is that just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Do it fearlessly. Do it courageously. Do it mightily. Do it with a smile. Do it with tears. Do it while you're walking. Do it while you're running. Just do it.
Do it afraid. Just do it. Can you put in the chat, friends? Put in the chat. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Put it in the chat. Because we started with talking about some of the hurdles to action, empowerment, and inclusion. I just feel like it's befitting to circle back to come back to those hurdles and the place of mindset and barriers and those hurdles. And Dr. Parson, share with us mindset, those barriers, and how do these play out, and how can we help ourselves as women? How can we be that unstoppable force that does not stop ourselves?
Search the barriers out and overcome them. It's really that simple. Don't be afraid of the barriers. Don't be afraid of them. Run toward them. If you look at David and Goliath, what I love about that account in the Bible, yes, sweetie, we hear you. Everybody hears you.
He wants to speak up, give his opinion about it.
Showing off now, showing off.
Showing off.
Barking skills.
That's his barking skills. But David ran. He ran toward Goliath. He picked up the 5 stones and he ran toward the problem. And so let's not run away from the problem. Let's pick up the 5 stones or the tools that we need, and let's run and let's expect. Also, look at David, what he did. David talked about what he was going to do to Goliath before he did it, right? He was like, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. And so when we're seeing those barriers, pick up those tools that we need and start speaking to them. I'm speaking to you, mountain. You will be cast into the sea. I am overcoming this debt because I am meant to be debt free. I am going to smile through my tears because I have a joyful heart. And so again, speak to it. Pick up your tools and run toward it.
Wow, wow, wow. I can't believe we've been here for an hour.
Time goes by so fast.
And we're just beginning. You know, I know how inspiring and impactful and powerful a show is when I don't get to actually go to my questions. And that's what's been happening on this show. And I know this is going to be one of the most impactful shows that we've had. Guys, share this, okay? Be that person in the life of a friend. Share this with your friends. Share this with your WhatsApp communities. Share this on your Facebook page. And thank you in advance for doing so. There are people that are going to come watch this just because they saw Maria on the show. Maria, what would be your final words to everyone that's going to be watching?
I would just encourage, never ever give up on your dream. Keep dreaming, keep stepping up into your journey, stepping up into your greatness, and you'd be amazed how far you can go. Sometimes people can get derailed because they don't know the how, and I personally hear it many times. Like, how can I do that? How? What is it? And we can get wrapped into our mindset so much about this how, because we don't know yet how to get to that 10 miles away journey. But when we start taking intentional actions daily and stepping up, that 10-mile journey or whatever it is, your vision, your goal, can happen way faster than you anticipated. I always say that action without the action, when there is no action, there's no traction. So once we start taking action and moving towards our dream without asking ourselves how, just do it. Again, just like we said earlier, we just got to start doing it. And that action can create opportunities that we have never imagined.
Wow, wow, wow. And Maria told us, believe you can and tap into your why. She also told us to be a river and not a reservoir. She also told us to be the inspiration and to create a ripple effect. Dr. Parson, there are people that are going to come watch this just because they saw you on the show. What would you tell our audiences?
It would be to dream again. Dream again. Dream, dream, dream again. Imagine again. Go sit outside and look at the clouds and allow your imagination to be reawakened. Just to remind yourself that your imagination brings power to it. So dream again. Dream, 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 and then dream again.
Ladies and gentlemen, and Dr. Parson also told us, if you can achieve it on your own, that is not big enough. Okay. And she also said, leave a thumbprint wherever you go. And ladies and gentlemen, it's on that note that we'll see you next time. Oh, please don't forget to send me stars. Okay. Send me stars because it's going to help keep the show running. And that's very important. And share this. And we'll see you in the next episode.
For your corporate and personal
Thank
needs.
you for having us.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives